Good evening. Could I have your attention, please? Well, good evening, everyone. As my first official act, it's my distinct pleasure to welcome you on behalf of all of us at the Federation to this year's anniversary dinner. This, as you know, combines our National Hall of Fame inductees and recognition this year of Tony DiCicco's legacy, this year's Werner Fricker Award recipient. It's great that we're all able to come together for dinner tonight as one united soccer family. Congratulations to all of the honorees. We're going to have a short video that follows, and then I'm going to bring up Dan Flynn, who will be the MC for tonight. Enjoy your dinner.
Thank you. When I was thinking about tonight's Werner Fricker Award winner, it always starts, and I'm sure it does for you, it always starts with Werner. And I remember in the 80s when he was president of U.S. Soccer and I was working at Anheuser-Busch, he really wanted to meet the president of the company at the time, Denny Long, who was a big, big supporter of the sport. And we finally got the right day and time arranged, and we had this meeting. It was a solid 30 minutes that ended up going about an hour and 30 minutes. And my boss at the time, Denny, referred how he couldn't believe how committed and passionate Werner was about the game. And Denny is actually still living, and from time to time we talk, and he still references that meeting with Werner. And then today, when Kevin Payne was taking some time at the end of the National Council meeting, and I think really honoring Sunil for his great work over the years, but he talked about Sunil as a builder and being part of the builder category, if you will, and he used the term, and he was describing Werner as a ferocious competitor. And I think that's rather fitting for tonight's Werner Fricker Award winner, as well as our 2017 Hall of Fame class. But before we honor tonight's award winner, let's recognize our past winners as well. Please roll the video. Thank you. This year's winner marks the third consecutive year the Werner Fricker Award winner has really come from the women's side of our game. Anson in 2016 and Mary Harvey 2017. As many, if not all of you know, Tony passed away in June of 17 and survived by wife Diane, his sons Anthony, Andrew, Alex, and Nicholas. Tony was a true pioneer and probably the most popular figure in the history of our federation on the women's side. All-time winningest coach for the women's national team. Went on to great victory in '99. But what I really kind of remember most about Tony, Sunil and I had a conversation about the under-20 team. And we actually asked Tony, would you take on that team? And really with little hesitation, he did. And not many senior level coaches might think about doing that. He did. Not only that, he went on to win the under-20 FIFA Women's World Cup. And I think that says volumes about Tony. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Anthony DiCicco to accept the award on behalf of his father. And I'd also like to recognize Tony's wife, Diane, who's also here, that I guarantee you sacrificed a great deal for Tony to be a great legend and a great coach for U.S. Soccer. So Anthony, please come up and accept the award. Thank you, bud. Appreciate it. Yeah.
In December, Dan called me and told me that Dad was receiving the Werner Fricker Award. And it's not lost on me at all the significance of this honor, because from my early days in soccer, he emphasized the history of the game and the legacies of those who have preceded us, all of us, in honoring and loving soccer. So when Dan asked me to sum up his career in 5 minutes, that was a little bit daunting. And then I just started thinking the same phrase over and over again. It went well. So the first thing I want to do is thank Sunil, Hank, Alan, Dan, the committee, and there's countless other people, and I obviously won't be able to mention everybody who's a part of this, but know that if I'm forgetting you, it's not intentional. My father's career through soccer started by being inspired by his mother. So it's apt that he was known for coaching women. She was a competitive swimmer at the YMCA in an era when women didn't particularly compete in sports. He discovered his work ethic, integrity, and mentality, approach to life through his father. And in his early days as a professional player and before launching Soccer Plus, he worked in his father's radiator company in downtown Hartford. The challenge of being Anthony DiCicco is that people think I'm named after my father. I'm actually named after both my grandfathers. And like Dan said, my mother's here tonight, as well as her brother, Ed, who's named after his father. So I'm Anthony Edward DiCicco. I'm not the third. Being named Anthony DiCicco wasn't a problem in 1982. By 1994 or so, it had become a pretty big thing to overcome. He'd branched out and he'd become an icon in our group. And it really stemmed from him being a goalkeeper and his love of and passion for goalkeeping from the outset. The mentality of being a goalkeeper, the leadership of being a goalkeeper, and I love a good story arc. So the fact that he's being honored with this tonight, the same night that Dr. Joe Macknick and Brian Ascuri, both goalkeepers, are going into the Hall of Fame is not lost on me. And in fact, he's following Mary Harvey, his first goalkeeper from the 1991 Women's World Cup, in being honored with this award. And I want to talk to you just a bit about that. A year ago, March 24th, we were in San Jose for the qualifier and the Hall of Fame dinner. And he was there to induct Brandy and Shannon, he delivered Brandy's induction speech, but obviously Shannon was going in as well, and Harv was getting the Werner Fricker. This would turn out to be his last public appearance of his life. And, in the days and months that followed, we found that to be incredibly apropos. I want to tell you a quick story about the end of his life. And in January of last year, after he was diagnosed, I flew to Connecticut, and we were having a conversation about what this process looked like for him. And he didn't know. He had a lot of research to do and wanted to do his homework, but the one thing he said to me that day in January was, we're not going to make any decisions from a place of fear. And that lesson will stay with me for the rest of my life, because to be able to navigate soccer with grace is impressive, and it's why he's being honored today. To navigate life with grace is a testament to his ability to extract the lessons from soccer and implement them on a daily basis. One of the things that came out of that conversation was the reality that he could die. And I remember having the conversation with some of my brothers about what we would want to ask him or what we didn't know that we would want to know. And the truth is, by living the life that he did and teaching us in the way that he did, sharing so much of himself, there wasn't much that we were inquisitive about. But my youngest brother, Nicholas, did have one question. He wanted to know if Dad was worried that the press would have crucified him if Brandi Chastain had missed the winning penalty for the World Cup by having her coach tell her to take it with her weaker foot. And he thought about it for about 2 seconds, and he said, nope. He said, the thought never crossed my mind. He said, what I thought about was who I wanted in the spotlight in that moment. And then I knew that I wanted her to give a different look than she'd given China in the Algarve Cup earlier that year. And the rest is history. I want to talk for a quick second about the other two goalkeepers, Dr. Joe and Bry. Dr. Joe was for many, many years a competitor of my father's, Soccer Plus and Number One, the two biggest goalkeeper schools in the country. And last month in Philadelphia, we were doing the NSCA Foundation endowment, and Dan and Hank and Joe Cummings and Lisa Cole, all four of whom are here, gave wonderful speeches. But the moment that will stay with me, I was standing with a former Soccer Plus and Number One goalkeeper, Number One camp's director, Sky Eddie Bruce. And Sky was telling me the story about how in 1994, when she made the move from Number One to Soccer Plus, it was on Joe's recommendation. Because he said, Tony's the national team coach. If you want to be seen and you want a chance at the national team, I don't want to lose you, but you have to go work for him. And it resonated immediately. The parallels between their two careers are incredible. And Dr. Joe, congratulations, well-deserved, and happy to be here for this. Bry's a more complicated one. I don't know what story to tell about Bry, because Bry is one of the most incredible people you'll ever meet. The first woman first African-American woman into the Smithsonian as a part of the new African-American History Museum, Title IX exhibit. But the story that kept coming back to me about Bry was, again, a camp story where she was working Soccer Plus. And she'll have to correct me after the dinner. I think it was 2 months after the World Cup in 1995. And I think she was working camp at the Ethel Walker School. And I remember her working with some terrible, terrible goalkeepers. And the patience and grace that she showed through that process is a much nicer story than if I tell you that every time she came into national team camp, she came in unfit, but had this ridiculous ability to just suddenly be fit in about 2 weeks, which is the story that he would have told. So congratulations, Bry. I know he would have been very, very proud of you tonight. So before I let you go, I do want to talk just about a few of the lessons we've extracted from his life. The fact that he was a builder of environments, and not only that, but a student of leadership and top-level success stories from any sport, any walk of life. And when we talk about how he was able to achieve what he did in the way that he did, it comes down to a couple things. But the number one thing for leaders to understand is that you create the conditions for those around you to be successful. he never lost sight of the fact that it wasn't about him. He never lost sight of the fact that he was in a position that he was because of mentors like Bob Gansler and Anson Dorrance and Bobby Howe and Mooch Meyernick and Clive Charles. Those last two he would want me to be sure to mention tonight. And let's give both of them a round of applause, because there's such an important part of this story and all of our stories. The last thing I'll say is, with his death, we felt an explosion of emotion. I've been telling people all week, this is the last stop on the memorial tour. And it's not because I don't want people to remember his legacy, but I don't want us to get caught up in celebrating his death or memorializing his death. I want us to get back to pulling out the lessons of his life. And one of the things that resulted from all of these, just this explosion of emotion, is the question. Everybody asks the same question: how are you doing? A million times, how are you doing? And I appreciate it every single time. But I've also come to really internalize the answer to that question. We're okay. We are incredibly blessed. I'm standing here celebrating my father in as special a way as I possibly can, with people who mattered so much to him, both as colleagues and friends. But we're also not at all okay, not even a little bit. And we miss him every single day, every minute, being at the convention in Philadelphia, being at the NWSL semifinal in Portland, being at the Breakers game in July. The absence is absolutely felt. So what it comes down to is living with the contradictions that both these things are true. And I see that parallel in the country, in the planet, but also in our soccer community as well, which is, thanks to Sunil and Dan and the board and so many people, we are in a tremendous, tremendous position in U.S. soccer today. And I'm so grateful for that. And we also have our challenges. The challenge is not to be afraid. The challenge is to see the failure of Trinidad and Tobago or whatever it may be, and to face that challenge with the confidence that you're going to fail forward. And that's what happened to him. There's a very good chance that this speech and this award never happen if, after he loses the World Cup in 1995, Alan and Hank decide to go in a different direction. But their faith in him was rewarded in all of the celebrations that we've gotten to share together through 96, 99, 2008, and everything in between. So all I'm going to say is the same thing I said when we finished his memorial service. The aim is to light a fire with the love he left behind. He loved this game. He loved this organization. He loved all of you. And more than anything else, he loved you, Mom. And although you don't know as many people in this room, none of this story is possible without you. You're the secret weapon. So on behalf of all the people who played for him, he coached with, students at Soccer Plus, and I've been getting messages from people, because I asked where they are today, and they're in every walk of life, from medicine to law enforcement, from teachers to doctors. This is for all of you, and thank you very much for this honor.
Thank you, Anthony. It's a bit difficult to follow those incredible comments and thoughts about your father, but I think more than anything, what it says is Anthony truly loved his father. But there's a lot of other people that love Tony as well, and we'd like to play a video because there were a lot of people that wanted to join in on this celebration. So please roll the video.
Tony gave so much to the game at so many different levels, both for the soccer, but as a person, and I think that's what Tony for me brought to the game, was that he understood us as people.
He was like an uncle. We call him Uncle Tony. He was like the nicest, sweetest guy. He cared about us individually and wanted us to be successful, responsible, respectful human beings, and he was teaching us that every day.
One of the most wonderful, compassionate, loyal coaches that I know so many of us have ever had. And he had this incredible ability to unite and make people feel good and comfortable and like family under him. Be out there as a player, it was fun.
Just what an incredible experience to be able to play for a guy like that. He was very knowledgeable about the game, but he also, if he didn't know something, we would work it out as a team, or he would take our input.
He was pretty mellow about it. He was just easy to talk to, and he would just sit you down and tell you what was up. He was easy to engage with and talk about the game with.
Tony was coach at a time where we were trying to put women's soccer on the map here in this country and globally. So we felt like we were carrying a lot of that pressure to do well. And I know Tony must have felt that, but this is the gift of Tony, is he diffuses the pressure in the most organic and natural of ways. That was his gift. He would walk out on the field and he'd look up to the sky with this big grin, he'd scream, "I love my job."
He was so good at letting us fight for what we wanted to fight. He knew he was supporting the game and us as a team and the women's program, and wanted to see us grow.
Everything he did was a success, and he did it because he loved the game and he respected the women's game, and he knew it could get to a certain level.
Tony is beyond deserving of this award. He's impacted so many different levels of the sport.
He put his whole heart and soul into the game of soccer. Everybody that I've talked to has some connection to him in somehow, some way, have looked up to him or read his books. Just a well-respected guy, and to have gotten to know him the way we all got to for so many years and be a part of his family is such an honor, and I'm really proud for the DiCicco family.
I think the Werner Fricker Award is perfectly fitting because his life was dedicated to the game, and at so many different levels. He just was able to wear so many hats and wear them so well and touch so many people's lives in a positive way. And that's always been the one thing that stood out to me, is his ability to, across the game, be able to hit all these touch points in such a wonderful way.
Thank you. Obviously, it's been a big day for U.S. Soccer, and in particular for the board of directors and the staff. We've been trying to figure a way out to mix in a way to honor Sunil tonight as well. To honor not only his 12 years as president, but his very long journey in the 30, 35, 40 years that he's been involved. So we commissioned an original piece of art. The composition creates a visual narrative of the iconic moments and successes on and off the field. And I'm going to read from the creative brief that we provided the artist, Chuck Johnson, the gentleman, the artist from Chicago. We wanted to choose imagery from moments and milestones that evoked emotion, pride, celebration, and would take Sunil on a trip down memory lane from all the highlights of his time as president, incorporating the one nation, one team slogan to tie everything together. So as we collectively thank Sunil for his lifelong commitment to growing the game, we hope this tribute acts as a reminder to you, Sunil, of the game-changing moments and experiences you have brought to U.S. soccer during your administration, but also the legacy that commitment will have into our future. We'd like to ask you to come up and be recognized and take a look at your new piece of art. Thank you. I asked Bob, I think Alan has departed, but I asked Bob Contiguglia as past president, Hank, my predecessor, to also join us in for a picture. Also, the picture will be off, the piece of work will be off to the side. If anybody would like to take a picture, I think Sunil will be available afterwards. I think it would be a nice way to salute Sunil one last time and take a good photo of it. So thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy dinner.